We continue now at the top of Daf Kuftes Vava Med Aleph Meseches Baba Kamma. This is Baba Kamma Daf 115a. And the previous Amud, the Gemara brought the Mishnah which said that if a rumor goes out that a person's items were stolen, and then it turns out that we find those items in the hand of a lokeach, somebody who bought it from somebody, so we assume that the lokeach bought it from the thief, and the lokeach takes a shvuah how much he spent, the lokeach will be reimbursed. The original owner is able to get back his items. And so the Gemara asked, how do we know that the original owner didn't just manufacture this entire rumor? He's trying to get back items that maybe he really sold. They weren't stolen from him, but he manufactured rumors that it was stolen from him, and that's how he's going to try to get these items back. And so the Gemara said it has to be a situation essentially where the rumors are very detailed and it's very clear that these items were stolen from this person. And so Rava says that's only true in a situation of a person who generally does sell his items. But if we're talking about a person who doesn't sell his items anyhow, so lo tzarech la'adurei ele kuliha, you don't have to investigate the matter so much. It doesn't have to be such detailed rumors in such a situation. As Rashi says, lo tzarech la'adurei kuliha, the name of sefer ploni uploni. It doesn't have to be that we identify the exact scroll that was stolen, etc. But the Gemara says, why not? V'dil me'itzrich le'zuzeh. Maybe in this particular situation he needed money. V'zavan, and it turns out even though he usually doesn't sell his items, he did, and maybe it is manufactured. Maybe we do need to investigate the details. The Gemara says to that, Amar Ravashi says, it's enough that there's a rumor that things were stolen from him in the city. This is not a person who normally sells things, so therefore we don't have to have that concern. And the Gemara continues, Itmar, it was stated the following, Machlokas Amoraim, Ganav u'macher, let's say a person stole something and he sold it, V'yachar kach hukar aganav, and then it turns out that we've identified the ganav, we know who the thief is. Rav Mishmeid Rabbi Chia Amar, Rav in the name of Rabbi Chia, he says, Hadin im harishon, the court case is together with the first person. We'll see Rashi in a moment. Rabbi Yochanan Mishmeid Rabbi Yanai Amar, Hadin im hasheni. Rabbi Yochanan in the name of Rabbi Yanai says that the court case is with the second person. And Rashi explains Hadin im harishon, again according to the first opinion, Rabbi Chia in the name of Rabbi Yochanan says that the court cases with the first person means to say as follows, Dino shel balabayis, this is our initial understanding right now, when the balabayis goes to court, balabayis here refers to the original owner of the items, so his din, utviyasu, and his claim is al haganafi, he goes to the ganav is the rishon, the ganav is the first person, the ganav stole from the balabayis, and then the ganav sold it to the lokeach, and the point is, ve'ein halokeach baldino, the lokeach, the one who purchased it from the ganav, according to Rabbi Chia, is not considered the baldin of the original balabayis. Vimbolik voso heimenu yitein damim. So therefore, let's say the balabayis wants to get his items back from the lokeach, he has to pay money because the person, the lokeach, can say, "I'm not a ganav. I have nothing to do with this case. If you want anything back from me, you have to pay me." Now, even though in this case the ganav, we know who that is, lo amrinon yachzer lokeach hakelim bechinam v'yiparim in aganav. We don't say that the lokeach has to give back the kelim for free, and then the lokeach, maybe he should be the one to go to the ganav and get reimbursed. We don't say that, because essentially what we're really saying is that when the balabayis goes to the lokeach is able to say, I have nothing to do with this case, I'm not a ganav, I just purchased it from somebody, and so therefore, since I'm not a ganav and I just purchased it from somebody, you have to pay me back, meaning you, the balabayis, have to pay me back. If you want to get reimbursed then from the item for paying me back, because it was stolen from you, so then you have to go to the ganav and get the money, but I don't have to go to the ganav. Again, I could just return the kelim to you on the condition, of course, that you're going to pay me back. That's the opinion of Rabbi Chia. And the Gemara then said that Rabbi Yochanan, in the name of Rabbi Yanai, said Hadinim Hasheni, that he does have a court case with the second individual, means to say Dino shel balabais, meaning this original owner, Im halokeachu. He does have a case against the lokeach. Essentially, what we're saying is the lokeach is also considered to be like a ganav. That's what we're saying at this point in time. V'yotzi heimenu kelim bechinam. So he can say you're considered like a ganav, just like the actual person who stole it is a ganav. I can take the kelim from you back for free. Now, if you want to get reimbursed from the person who sold it, so you go to the ganav and you have a court case with the ganav and get the money back from him. That's the machlokas here again between Rabbi Chia and Rabbi Yochanan. And the Gemara now says, Amar Rav Yosef says, Velo pligi, but they're not really arguing. The first understanding of this machlokas between Rabbi Chia and Rabbi Yochanan is they're actually between Rabbi Chia and Rabbi Yanai, again it's Rabbi Yochanan in the name of Rabbi Yanai. The first understanding is they're not actually arguing, but they're talking about two different scenarios. Kan lifnei yush. In one case we're talking before the original owner gave up hope. So then hadinim hasheni. So then the person is a allowed to go to the second individual. The idea is, if there's no yish, if we're talking before yish, so therefore there is no kinyan. You don't have like a yish and a shinoi rishus, so to speak, where the lokach can be said to have acquired it. He's considered to be a gazlan, therefore you can go and just take it away from him, and he has to go get reimbursed himself. And kanli achar yish, and the other case we're talking after there was yish. After there was yish, there's a full kinyan, because the yish creates a kinyan, and so therefore in that situation, that second person is not a gazlan at all. So hadinim arishon, so then he has to go and do his court case with the first individual. If he wants to get his items back from the lokeach, he must pay the lokeach, and he can get his money back from the gazlan. And the Gemara then comments, according to this understanding, Rav Yosef's understanding, v'tarvayu islu de Rav Chisda. According to that, both of them will hold of Rav Chisda. And Rashi here explains, lifnei yish, lakho min haganav lifnei yish. The point is, the person purchased it from the ganav before yish. Since he bought it from the ganav before yish, so there was no kinyan over here, and so he's considered to be a gazlan. And then the Gemara said, everybody agrees with Rav Chisda. What did Rav Chisda say? The Rav Chisda's case is as follows. Gazal v'lonis ya'ishu ha'bailam. Someone stole, and again, the original owner did not give up hope. So then, uba'achar v'achlo. In this case, we're not talking where the gazlan sold it to somebody, but somebody else just came along and consumed the item. So Rav Chisda said, Ratza mizeh gova v'chulu. You can collect from whoever you want, because they're both considered to be gazlanim. That's the point, according to Rav Chisda. Before yish, both the gazlan and the person who consumed it after the gazlan is considered to be a gazlan, just like over here, the lokeach can be considered to be a gazlan. Bereish Pirkin, that's at the beginning of the parak. V'hai nami afagav the yoiv demei laganev lagabehai miya gazlan, who's over here also. Even though the lokeach gave money to the ganev, but he is considered a gazlan in reference to the original owner. Umiyu heicha de lohukar aganev. Now Rashi points out over here as follows. In a situation where we don't know who the ganev is, this entire discussion here is where we know who the ganev is, so therefore it's possible to go back to the ganev and get money. Let's say at a situation where you don't know who the ganev is, so then certainly avadle rabbanan takonas hashuk, then there's no question. The rabbanan make what's called the takonas hashuk. That's essentially an institution to protect the marketplace so people feel comfortable buying things. Litol mashanos, and so in that situation, it's a takonas hashuk. He could take back, the original owner will take back the items, but the original owner then certainly has to pay the lokeach, because we don't know who the ganev is. The lokeach can't go to the ganev. Avol heicha dehukar haganev, but if it's a situation where we do know who the ganev is, all of lahachzer achrav, the idea, so then the lokeach, he's considered, so to speak, like a thief as well, and so then he has to go pursue the ganev and get his money back from the ganev. That's the idea, again, in a situation where there was no yish. But the Gemara continues, Amar le Abaya, Abaya said to Rav Yosef, V'lo pligi, is it really true that they're not arguing? Meaning, is it really true that Rabbi Chia and Rabbi Yanai are not arguing? But Hamatnos Kahuna Kilifnei Yish Dami, we have a case of Matnos Kahuna, we'll see in a moment, that is the same as a situation where it was before Yish, Upligi, and yet we do see a machlokas. In other words, you are saying, you, Rav Yosef, are saying that before Yish, everyone would agree that the second person is considered to be like a gazlan, and everyone would agree that you're able to go to this lokeach, you could say hadinim hasheni, but that's not true. We find this machlokas even lifnei yish. The Tanan, as we learned in the Mishnah, and this is a Mishnah in Chul, and the Mishnah says, Amar Lov, he says to him, Mechor li meyeha shal par, he says, sell me the innards of this cow. V'hayu behen matanos, and then among the innards are things that really have to go to the Kohen. The matnos kahuna means to say the keva in this situation, the zroa l'chayim and keva go to the Kohen. Here we're talking about the keva. So the halach is, nosnan l'kohen ve'no menachelo min hadam. He has to give the keva to the Kohen, and he's not allowed to subtract any amount that he pays. In other words, he said he's going to buy it for a certain amount, and it's understood that he has to give the matanos to the Kohen. However, lokach himenu b'mishkol, let's say he buys it from him by weight. So now it's very specific in terms of what he's buying. So then nosnan l'kohen. So then the party has to give to the Kohen, he gives to the Kohen. U'menachelo min hadamim. But the buyer, the lokach, is able to subtract. He doesn't have to pay the same amount of money because he's not getting the entire weight. Some of that is actually going to the Kohen. And so on this Mishnah of Yama Rav, so Rav said on this Mishnah, and again Rav was talking above, Rav was the one above who quoted in the name of Rabbi Chia. Rav said on this Mishnah, Lo shanu ela shashaka liatzmo. This is only true if he himself did the weighing. Avol shaka lo hatavach, but let's say it was the butcher who was the one who weighed it, hadinim hatavach, so then he has to have his court case, so to speak, with the tavach, with the butcher. And Rashi explains, Kilifnei yish dami, again, the case of the Kohen is like before yish, the Kohen lo miyayish minayu, certainly the Kohen has not given up from getting these matanas of the kuna. It's not a case of yish over over here, upligi, and yet we see that there's still a machlokas. Kolomar means to say, v'amar Rav, that even in that situation, Rav in the name of Reb Chia said, hadin im harishon, that he has to go to the first person, he has to go to the gazlan, he does not have a claim against the second individual, the lokeach. But Rav says that even in this situation, before Yush, he says hadin im harishon. He's going to say the same idea, that the din is going to be im hatavach. The tavach over here, the butcher, is the rishon, as we'll see in a moment. Matanos keva, again, the matanos we're talking about the keva over here. Nozen halokeach keva lekohen. So the lokeach gives the keva to the kohen. The mistama matanos lo zavin, because mistama he didn't sell him the matanos kahuna. That has to go to the kohen. And so then we say lo shanu lokach hemenu b'mishkal nosen lekohen. We only say that if he buys it b'mishkal, he gives it to the kohen. The mashma da halokeach al karchach nosen lekohen. What does it sound like it's saying in the Mishnah? It sounds like it's saying in the Mishnah that if he buys it at a certain weight, he has to give it to the kohen against his will. V'hu yitva damim min hamocher, and he has to go ahead and he has to ask for the money back from the mocher. That's what it sounds like the Mishnah is saying, meaning to say that the din over here is im hamocher. That's only true that's only true if he himself weighed it. However, if it's the tavach, if it was the butcher that did the weighing, so then hadin im hatavach, so then the kohen actually has to go to the tavach, to the butcher. What that means is dino shel kohen v'iruro al hatavachu, means to say that the kohen has to deal with the tavach. In that situation, the kohen can't simply say, give me back my items and you deal with the tavach. No, the kohen himself has to deal with the tavach. And so Rashi continues and explains, Rav Lataime, Rav over here is following exactly what he said in our case. Diyamar hadin im harishon, because what did Rav say? Rav said that you always have to do the din, im harishon, you have to take care of it with the ganav himself, meaning the original owner has to deal with the ganav. The original owner, the lokech, can say, I have nothing to do with this, you have to pay me back immediately. The tavach kaganav rishon, the point over here is if the ganav did the weighing, so he's like the first ganav. The lokeach havesheni, and then the person that the butcher sold it to, he is considered to be the sheni. The kamar hadin. And what is it saying over here? Rav is saying that the kohen has to deal with the tavach. The kohen's not allowed to just deal with the lokeach. The kohen is the one that has to get reimbursed from the tavach. Alma Rav, less later Rav Chisda. You see that Rav does not hold of Rav Chisda. And the point over here again is that if the tavach weighs it out and sells it to the lokeach, so now the kohen, he can't go to the lokeach. The lokeach is not considered to be the thief. He has to deal with the tavach, and he has to say to the tavach, you owe me these matanos. And again, you see hadinim harishon, and this is even in a situation before Yush, we don't consider the lokeach to be a gazlan. And the Gemara continues and answers on behalf of Rav Yosef, Ema avdin im hatavach. Rather, what you should say this Mishnah means, it doesn't mean that he has to go to the tavach, the kohen has to do a court case with the tavach and not the lokeach. It means it's not only with the lokeach. He has a case against the lokeach, but he has the case against the tavach as well, if he wants to. And what would be the point of saying that? What might you have said? Ein matanas kunas nigzalos. You might have said that when it comes to manas kuna, they're never considered to be stolen. Maybe he doesn't have any case against the tavach. Kamash malon, that's what the Mishnah is teaching us. The Mishnah is teaching us that he also has a case against the tavach, and if you say it in that fashion, so then it could be that we are considering the lokech to be a gazlan. The point of the Mishnah just is to say that even the tavach, he's able to go to court with him as well. Rashi says as follows, Eina nigzolos, you might have thought that manas kuna can't be stolen. The alima keniya ditu de mikoach gavoa ka'asule. The kohen really is entitled to that mikoach gavoa from HaKadosh Baruch Hu, so to speak, so that's a strong kinyan. And so then you'll say, v'chol hecha de'isnu ema de koheninu, you'll say wherever they are, they belong to the kohen. V'afilu shakalo hatavach, even if the tavach is the one that weighed that, yigva hakohen nami min halokech. Still, the kohen takes from the lokech because it's always his wherever it goes. Now it's in the possession of the lokech. He simply takes it from the lokech. You might have said that. Kamash malon. So it's coming to teach us no. The tavach, even though he no longer has that in his possession, but the tavach is considered to be a gazlan. It's possible to steal matnas kahuna, and therefore he's also able to do the court case against the tavach. And the Gemara continues, Uli Abaya Damar Pligi. Now, according to Abaya, who says that Rav and Rav Yochanan argue even before Yush b'mai Pligi. So what does Abaya think they're arguing about? And he answers B'der Rav Chisda. They're arguing within Rav Chisda whether or not they agree with Rav Chisda. Rashi explains Pligi b'lifnei Yush. They're arguing before Yush u'v'der Rav Chisda. And they're arguing about Rav Chisda, meaning is the lokech considered a gazlan at all? The Rav Leslie, the Rav Chisda. Rav does not hold like Rav Chisda. Rav holds that the lokech is not considered a gazlan, and therefore you have no case against the lokech. He has to take it from the lokeach and reimburse the lokeach immediately, and then he has to do his case against the gazlan. And the Gemara continues with another explanation of the machlokas between Rav and Rav Yochanan. Rav Zvid says, the case over here is that the original owner gave up hope when it was already in the possession of the lokeach. But they had not yet given up hope while it was in the hands of the ganav. Essentially, you have a case over here where it wasn't a yish and then a shinoi rishus. It was the other way around. It was a shinoi rishus first and then a yish. And they're arguing as follows. One says that yish and then shinoi rishus is kona. However, shinoi rishus v'achar kach yish lo kani. But if you reverse it, if you have the shinoi rishus first and then you have the yish, it is not going to be a kinyan. And if it's not going to be a kinyan, then hadinim hasheni. That's Rabbi Yochanan's opinion, because the sheni, the lokeach, is not considered to have acquired it. Umar savar lo shna, but Rav says no, it makes no difference whether it's yish and then shinoi rishus, or if it's shinoi rishus and then yish. In both cases, we're going to say that the lokeach is kona, and therefore it's hadinim harishon. The balabayis has to deal with the gazlan, but he doesn't deal with the lokeach, because the lokeach is considered to have made a full kinyan. As we'll see Rashi in a moment, the lokeach is considered to have made such a full kinyan that he's not even able to get the item back from the lokeach, according to this approach. Rashi explains, Rav Zvid says, in a situation where there's no yish, to kuliyal mislu de Rav Chisda, everybody would agree with Rav Chisda, and then the balabayis, the original owner, he takes to court the second individual, the lokeach, because he certainly doesn't acquire anything. Here again, the case is where you have a shinoi rishus and then a yish, and again, the other opinion says, lo shna, doesn't matter what order it is, the kani legamri, he is fully kona, that refers to the lokeach, he doesn't have to return the items, even if he's being reimbursed. You can't deal with the lokeach at all. The original owner only is able to get reimbursed from the gazlan. And the Gemara continues with another approach to the machlokas between Rav and Rav Yochanan. Rav Papa says, "Beglima dukuli alma lo pligi dehadr lamari." Everybody agrees that the garment goes back to the original owner, and we're not even arguing over who the original owner does a court case with. Here we're arguing about the takonas hashuk. We're arguing who the lokeach goes to court with. Rav Mishmei Rabbi Chia Amar, Rav says in the name of Rabbi Chia, hadin im harishon. This lokeach has to do a court case with the gazlan, meaning dina de lokeach de lishkol zuzi miganav. This lokeach, who his item is now taken away from him by the original owner, he has to get money back from the ganav. There's no takonas hashuk. We don't say that there's a takana of the marketplace to help him, that he automatically, immediately gets reimbursed from the original owner. Rabbi Yochanan mishum de Rabbi Yanai Amar, but Rabbi Yochanan in the name of Rabbi Yanai says, hadinim hasheni, the lokeach goes to the sheni, meaning to say dina de lokeach, meaning the lokeach, when he wants to get reimbursed for the item that's being taken away from him by the original owner, to lishkol mi balabayis, he takes the money from the balabayis. Ve'asubo takonas hashuk. There's a takonas hashuk in this situation. And Rashi explains, Rav Papa says, Liolam b'delifnei yish pligi. First of all, we're talking before yish. So in that sense, this lokeach is considered to be a gazlan. V'tarvayu islu de Rav Chisda, and everybody agrees with Rav Chisda that this lokeach is considered to be a gazlan. Uveglima digneva kol yamalo pligi, dehadra lamara miyada bechinam. Everybody agrees that that item which was stolen, it immediately goes to the original owner for free. Ve'ena lokeach yochol la'akval ma'osav. The lokeach can't say, I'm not giving it back till I get my money. Uchid Rav Chisda, that's like what Rav Chisda said. V'hadinim harishon, and now according to this interpretation, when it says hadinim harishon da amar Rav, when Rav says he does a court case with the first individual, lo bedin habalabayis kamar, we're not even talking about the balabayis, because the balabayis gets his item back right away, and now the question is who the lokeach gets reimbursed from. Ela bedino shel lokeach kamar, we're talking about the din of the lokeach, and the machlokas is whether there's a takonas hashuk. What does it mean takonas hashuk? Rashi says takonas hashuk al shekano lokeach b'shuk b'farhesia, since this lokeach bought it in the open marketplace, v'lo haven bo shenignav, he didn't know it was stolen. Asulo takana sheyishalem lo balabayis ma'osav, they make a takana that the balabayis is the one that pays him back. For Rabbi Yochanan savar asu takana, that's what Rabbi Yochanan holds. Rabbi Yochanan says that there is a takonas hashuk unihi de islan de Rav Chisda. Now granted that we hold of Rav Chisda's idea, v'lo matzi lokeach lememer le balabayis la bal devarim didiyah. In other words, the lokeach cannot say to the balabayis, you're not my bal devarim, and therefore if you're going to take this item back from me, I'm demanding payment. That he can't do. But he could demand payment after it's returned. Nevertheless, after he does give back the stolen item to the original balabayis, according to Rabbi Yochanan, there's a takonas hashuk, he can ask for money. In other words, there are two ways really where the lokeach can get reimbursed from the balabayis. Either it's that the lokeach is not considered to be a gazlan, and it's lav bal devarim didiyad, and therefore he says, if you want your item back, very good, but you have to pay me back. The other idea is that no, he is a gazlan, and he is a bal davar, but still he can get paid back from the balabayis because of this idea of takonas hashuk. And that's why Rashi now asks to clarify. V'kash, if you're going to ask, mikol makam dmei shakel. He's getting money either way. So what's the difference? Mali mishum takana, mali mishum tainas, la bal devarim didiyat. What's the difference if this lokech is getting money back from the original balabayas because he's not considered a gazlan? So he says, lav bal devarim didi, you can't simply take this item from me without paying me. Or if he gets money from the balabayas by saying there's a takonas hashuk, I'm allowed to get reimbursed from you because I bought it in the open marketplace. I didn't realize that it was stolen. And so Rashi says, nafkamina, there is a difference. Like a case of Rav Chisda. Let's say a person stole something and then somebody else comes and consumes it without paying any money for it. There's no taikonas hashuk. He didn't even buy the item, he just consumed it without paying any money. So there, Rav Chisda, there we would say like Rav Chisda, if the original owner wants to deal with the second person, the one who consumed it, instead of the rishon, instead of the first person who stole it, he can collect from him. That's the nafkamina. In a situation where there's no takonas hashuk, are we considering this second individual to be a bal davar as well, or are we considering him not to be a bal davar? That would make a difference. And the Gemara continues, V'sava Rav lo asubo takonas hashuk. Does Rav really hold that there is no takonas hashuk? Again, meaning to say that we don't protect the purchaser in a case where the purchaser bought something from a ganav. We can take it away from the purchaser and he's not able to demand payment from the original owner. He has to go to the ganav. Is that really true? V'Rav Huna talmidei de Rav have, but Rav Huna was a student of Rav. V'chanan bisha gonav glima v'zavn, and Chanan the wicked stole a garment and he sold it. Exactly the same kind of case. Also l'kamei de Rav Huna, the case came before Rav Huna. Amar Leilu Gavri said to the particular individual, the original owner, Zil Shari Avitach, go and redeem your pledge, meaning to say that if you're going to take back your original item from the lokeach, you do have to pay the lokeach. That seems to be that there is a takonas hashuk. And the Gemara answers to that, Shani Chanan Bisha, it's different by Chanan the wicked, Kevan deleka l'shtalume minei, since it was impossible to collect from him, Kilo hukar dami, that's the equivalent as though you don't know the ganav. And again, we said everybody agrees when you don't know the ganav, there is a takonas hashuk. And the Gemara continues, Amar Rava says, Im ganav meforsim hu, if the person is a famous ganav, so then lo asubo takonas hashuk, then there is no takonas hashuk, because the person who's buying from someone who's well known as a ganav, he's not going to be protected by that takana. He should be careful when buying from somebody who's known as a ganav. The Gemara says, V'hachanan bishad meforsim have, but Chanan the wicked, he was a famous person, v'asubo takonas hashuk, and we just said that there was a takonas hashuk in a case that involves Chanan bisha. And the Gemara says, Nihid meforsim levishusa, granted that it was well known that he was a villain, but lignevusa lo meforsim, was not well known that he was a ganav, that he was a thief. And the Gemara continues, Itmar, it was stated, Ganav upara b'chovu, if a person steals and then he uses what he steals to pay back a debt, or Ganav upara b'kefor, let's say he steals and he uses what he steals to pay back something that he bought on credit, essentially giving what he stole to a creditor. So in that case, lo asubot takonas hashuk, there's no takonas hashuk in that situation. Meaning to say, when the original owner comes and takes back what is rightfully his, the creditor can't say, I want you, the original owner, to pay me, because it should be like a takonas hashuk, as though I bought something in the marketplace and I should be protected. We don't have that takana in the case of a creditor, diamri, because we say lo adaita dahanu yehiftlei midi. You didn't give him anything on that understanding, meaning to say it's not like a case of a purchaser who gave money on the understanding that he was getting a particular item. Here, that's not the case at all. Here, the person simply lent money, and there was no particular understanding that he would get a specific item in terms of being paid back, and so therefore he has to deal with the person who owes him the money. He can't expect the original owner to pay him back. And the Gemara continues, Mashkanta, let's say you have a collateral, Shavi Masan B'meya, let's say it's a situation where the collateral is worth 200 and it's for a loan of 100, so that's a usual type of collateral situation. So there, Asubo Takonas Hashuk, there we do say there's a Takonas Hashuk. Again, the case over there would be, let's say the lender lends the borrower 100, and the borrower gives him a mashkan, which is 200. Now that means the original understanding, when the lender was giving the money, he is understanding that he might be purchasing essentially that mashkan, so it's like a purchase. Now, if that mashkon gets taken away, because it turns out that it was actually stolen, so it gets taken away by the original owner, he is able to demand from the original owner compensation, because that is similar to a purchase. However, shava b'shava, let's say he takes a collateral that is exactly worth the same amount as what he lent out. So there already it's a machlokes. Ameimar says, lo asubo takonas hashuk, they do not make a takonas hashuk in that case. It's not treated like the other case of a mashkin. And Marzutra says, no, it's treated like the other case of a mashkin. Asubo takonas hashuk, that there's a takonas hashuk in that case as well. And Rashi explains, Lava daita dehai geneva, you have to lay zuzi. When it comes to a creditor, he wasn't thinking about getting this particular stolen item when he gave the money to Mekami Hachio Zafle, because he lent earlier than that, he lent the money, he's getting paid back later on. So there we do not say there's a takonas hashuk. And by a mashkan, so it depends. Again, if the mashkan is worth more than the amount of the actual loan, so then we say there's a takonas hashuk. But mashkanta shava b'shava, but we said again, if there's a mashkan that's equal to the value of what was lent, so there's a machlokas amoraim, because ein derech lasos came, because it's not normal lahalvos ala mashkon kol shaviv that you're going to lend according to the entire value of the mashkon. Hilkach lava daita dehai mashkanta osve. Therefore, it's clear that he wasn't lending, thinking about collecting this particular mashkon elahimune hemne. Really, it's like a regular loan where he trusted him to pay back, and that's why there's a machlokas amoraim in this case. And the Gemara continues, Vina shava b'shava, if you have a sale where the amount of money that is paid is what the item is actually worth, that's like a normal sale. So asubot takonas hashuk, so there we say there is a takonas hashuk. But shava meya b'masan, but let's say the person buys something worth 100, but he pays 200, essentially he overpays. So there also, it's not a typical kind of purchase, it's almost like he was giving him a gift. So there's a machlokas, Rav Sheisha, someone Rav Sheisha says, lo asubot takonas hashuk. There's no takonas hashuk in that case. Rava Amar Rava says, asubot takonas hashuk. There is a takonas hashuk in that case. V'hilchas Bekulu, and the halach in all of these cases, asubot takonas hashuk, there is a takonas hashuk, levar mi ganav upara bechovo, ganav upara be'akefa, with the exception of the case where a person steals something and uses that to pay off his debt, or he steals something and uses that to pay off what he bought on credit. Again, in those situations, we say that the original money that was lent, the original credit that was extended, was not thinking about that particular item, and therefore there is no takonas hashuk in those cases. And the Gemara continues at the two dots. Avimi bar Nazi chamua de Ravina hava. Avimi bar Nazi was the father-in-law of Ravina. Masik ba'ugavra abo zuze. There was a particular person who owed him 4 zuz. Ganav glima, so that person stole a garment, and Asya Nehile, and he brought him the garment. It was almost like a pledge, like a collateral for this loan. And so then when he got that glima, when he got that garment, he lent him another 4 zuz. L'sof hukar aganav. Now at the end it was recognized, it was made clear that this person actually was a ganav, and he stole the glima, he stole the garment, and so therefore the father-in-law of Ravina, he wanted to use the takonas hashuk over here. When the original owner came and took back the glima, he wanted that original owner to pay him. So Asal Kame de Ravina, he came before Ravina, and Ravina said as follows. Amari said, Kamoi ganav upara bechovu. So when it comes to the first 4 zuz, so that's like a regular loan where you extend a loan to somebody and then he uses a stolen item to pay back the debt. So v'lo boy lemesavle. So therefore, v'lo boy lemesavle v'lo midi. He doesn't have to give anything for that, because again we said by ganav upara bechovu, there's no takonas hashuk in that case. The original owner can take back his glima and he doesn't have to pay. However, hanach arba zuzi achrini. But when it comes to the other 4 zuz, because then what happened was you lent him another 4 zuz because of the fact that you got the garment. So for that, shkol zuzach v'hadr glimi, for that, take your money and then return the garment. Meaning for that 4 zuz, you can demand that 4 zuz from the original owner as part of a takonas hashuk to give back that garment. And the Gemara says, Maskef lo Rav Kohen. Rav Kohen asked on this, V'dilma glima b'hani zuzei kamoy yahavin hile. How do you know that's how we should look at it? Maybe we should say that the glima, the garment, was actually for the first money that was lent, and we said by a loan, we don't say there's a takonas hashuk. That's ganav upar bechovo, ganav upar be'akefo. That's a situation of stealing and paying back a debt, or stealing and paying back something that's on credit. V'arba zuzei basroi, and then maybe we'll look at the last 4 zuz that were lent. Hemune hemne. So there he just trusted him on that loan. You can't take that into account in terms of the glima. Kihechi dehemne meikara. Just like he trusted him when he lent him the first 4 zuz, now he's trusting him and lending him another 4 zuz. You can't associate that second loan of 4 zuz necessarily with the glima. And if there's no association with the glima, you can't use a takonas hashuk over here. And the Gemara says Igalgil milsa. So eventually the matter went mata lekami de Rabbi Avo. Eventually it came before Rabbi Avo. Amar, and he said hilchasa Rav Kohen. The halacha is like Rav Kohen, and we say that in this situation you cannot say that there's a takonas hashuk. And the Gemara continues, Narsha ganav sifra zavne lepapuna. A person from Narish stole a scroll, and he sold it to somebody from Papunya. Betamnan zuze, he sold it for 80 zuz. Azal papuna, so this first lokeach from Papunya, he went zavne lebar mechuzah, and he sold it to someone from Mechuzah. B'meya ve'esrin zuz, he sold it for 120 zuz, so he made a profit in this situation of 40 zuz. L'sov hukar aganav. At the end, they identified the ganav. They said the person from Narish was actually a ganav, and so the question was what to do in this situation. The original owner wanted to get get back his scroll. So Amar Abaya said, Lezel Mari de Safra, the owner of the scroll should go. V'yoev le labar mechuza tamnan zuzah. He should give to the person from mechuza. That's the person who bought it at the end for 120 zuz, but really it was only originally sold for 80 zuz. So he just has to give 80 zuz to the person from mechuza. V'shakal sifra, and then he'll take back his scroll. Now this person from mechuza still needs to get back 40 of the zuz because he spent 120. So v'azal bar mechuza, and then this person from mechuza can go. V'shakal arbon mi papuna, and he should take 40 zuz from the person from Papunya. Again, that's the person who sold it to him because he's still owed the other 40 zuz. And so the Gemara says, Ma'askif lo Rava. Rava asks on this solution, he says as follows, Hashta now, Lokeach miganav asubo takonas hashuk. We understand that if somebody buys from a ganav, there's a takonas hashuk, meaning to say we protect the Lokeach, and we say the original owner has to pay the Lokeach if he wants to get back his item. But over here, Lokeach mi, boy, let's say you have somebody who's buying from a buyer, so do we even need to say it, meaning he should be all the more so protected? He didn't even buy it in that situation from a ganav. He bought it from somebody who was perfectly legitimate, who was a lokeach, so he should be completely protected in this case. So Elo my Rava, rather Rava says as follows: Lezel Mari de Safra v'yoev le labar mechuza meyav esron zuzay. Actually, the owner of the scroll should go and he should give to the person from mechuza, the person who bought it last. He has to give him the full 120 zuz because we have to put in complete protection from the lokeach mi lokeach. The shakal sifrin should take a scroll. Now he's paid 120 zuz for this. Now he wants to get his money back. So v'lezel Mari de Safra. So now that owner of the scroll should go. V'lishkol arboin mi papuna, he should collect 40 from the person from Papunya because that was the profit that person made. V'tamnan mi narsha, and then he should take back 80 from the person from Narish because that's what he originally sold it for, and that's how we will resolve this case. And the Gemara continues with the Mishnah, Zeba b'chaviso shal yayin, if this person is coming with his barrel of wine, Zeba b'chado shal davash, and this other person is coming with his barrel of honey, and Nizdika chavis shal davash, then there's a crack in the barrel of the honey is about to be lost, V'shafach zes yeno, so the other person pours out his wine, V'hitzil etz hadvash l'soch, in order to save the honey, put it into his own container, and we will continue with this discussion in the next video on Daf Vav Amud Beis.